is no heaven. There is no hell. There's just a merciless God that lets you suffer through this God-forsaken life. Don't you believe me? Let me show you. We just want a home like
Stop following me!
Hello, I'm Oliver Brodsky, and this is a new vlog with a V. Vlog stands for video log, and you say to yourself, why would you need this? Well, this is going to be about a special story about a boy and a demon. Vincent Swyllfly. Vincent is the boy. Swyllfly is the tormentor. Now, I have recently and for the last 8 years posted pictures and pictures of the ongoing project that I'm creating. The reason I'm creating this is because there is a 600-page novel that I am creating under the name Oliver Brodsky Studios, which is my company. Oliver Brodsky Studios has been around for a long time. Started off with freelance work, graphic design, logo design, and then we ventured out and started doing children's rooms, did some themed environments for churches, and then we branched into the bookmaking business. So this book that this whole vlog is going to be about is something that I've poured my heart and soul into. So I'm 44 years old, and I've almost put 10 years into this book. If you think about that, that's almost 25% of my life. And you say to yourself, why would you do such a thing? Why is it taking so long? Well, it's a 600-page book, and I'm not sure if you know how big that is, but that's about 2.5 inches as I've measured it. This is my studio, and I also have a studio that's separate from the house, and that studio is being turned into an epic club. You can only get in by special invitation. Club Ollie B. That's my name, Oliver Brodsky. So that is a special place that's going to be done after this book is done. But I must say right from the start, my faith in God is what has propelled me to do this book. I really believe in my heart that my journey through life and the things that I've been through have helped me come up with the idea of Vincent Swyllfly. And I'm hoping that at least one person out there will get a hold of that book and find some hope. It's not that I'm trying to people please or become popular off of the book. I'm just kind of following in my heart what it is I feel that I should be doing. And that is creating this book. Now, a little bit about me. I have a very strong background from Columbus College of Art and Design and Illustration. I've drawn my whole life. Ever since I was a little kid, I was drawing. And I was in the kindergarten, and they handed me a paper, and they said, we're having a contest. So what we want you to do is we want you to draw this tree. And it was the most basic shape. And I copied it exactly, and I won the contest. And ever since then, that teacher came up to me. She goes, you're talented. And ever since then, I just believed I was talented. And I may not have been, but I had the ability to look at something and imitate it very easily. Analyze. Look at this, analyze. Look at that shape, analyze. And that just blossomed and grew over the years. And I was blessed to have good parents who encouraged it. And I had a great pastor, Brother Martin, who encouraged it. He would bring us up, the best choir of the world, little kids, and we got up and he would share drawings, and I would draw all during church, and I would draw on bulletins, and I would draw caves in between all the words in the bulletins, but I was always listening. I was always listening about God. And I've always seen the world through the lens of good and evil. And I know a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't believe in God, and I'm not here to convince anyone of God. I'm just simply making these vlogs to kind of share what my journey has been, what my thought process is, and how I want to take all of that and put it into a story that is well thought out. When you spend 10 years creating a story, it better be good. And I believe it is good. I believe it's epic, actually. And the book is actually divided into two halves. You have the first half, which is the Adventures of Cornelius, the Cornelius Chronicles. Cornelius is the great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of Vincent, who's the main character of the book. And so the second half of the book is Vincent's Chronicles. So you have Cornelius's Chronicles, Vincent's Chronicles. You say, well, why would you have two characters like that? Well, I wanted to show the grandfather in relation to the great-great-grandson because I believe that if you look around the world, there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of discouragement, there's a lot of people tearing each other down. Now listen, I believe with all my heart there is good and evil warring in this world. And I'm trying to capture that in my book. And what I've done is I've taken a lot of the Bible principles, and some of the teachings, and married it up with some fiction. Some, obviously Swyllfly is not real, or is he? That's just the name that I put to him. Now, Swyllfly, the name itself, I came up with that because I believe I was looking up what's a pile of garbage. What does that mean? And I looked up words, and Swyllfly, swill, I believe, was a pile of garbage. And then I looked it up, but there was already a book out there spelled Swill. And so I decided to go ahead and make mine with a Y. So it's Swyll, fly. And why fly? Because he's a fly, because he's a demon, and he possessed a fly, and this fly became big like a penguin, and he's kind of likable. That's what's crazy about him. He's kind of likable. And I think that's good writing and good storytelling, is when you make the bad guy likable. Because it causes the reader the viewer, the reader, to be conflicted, to feel conflicted in that I hate this character, but I like this character. He's funny. I want them to be conflicted. I want them to actually be rooting for the bad guy. I believe that's good storytelling. Otherwise, it's flat. If it's just, oh, I like this guy, oh, I hate this guy. I mean, because really that's how life is, right? One person makes you angry, another person makes you angry. Then you kind of maybe say something behind their back, or you say something behind their back, and then it's like, oh, wait, I root for them. You got the gossip thing, and all that kind of things happen. So I understand that about the human psyche. I understand that's how humans work. Humans are fickle beings, and they're not loyal for the most part. At least that's my experience. So what I've tried to do is tap into those parts of a human that kind of craves on that in a gossip kind of way. And I think I've done that pretty successfully. Now, as far as the book goes, the overall book is the journey of this boy who is attacked by this creature. Now, let me find a very nice drawing of Swyllfly here. This is Swyllfly. He is a kind of a penguin-looking creature with two eyes and a snout, almost like a gonzo snout, but not quite. And if you look at him, he's got a nasty mouth, and he likes to lie to people. What does Swyllfly do? He lies. Swyllfly, lie. See? He likes to lie. Now, what kind of lies? Swyllfly likes to come up to people and put a thought in their head and say, you're no good. That's the first thing. You're no good. Okay? So, then the person has to have a choice in their mind. Is that true? Am I good? Maybe I'm not good. My mom don't love me. Maybe I'm not good. Look how my dad treats me. Maybe I'm not good. My teacher yelled at me. Maybe that thought is right. So Swyllfly is a character that I created. This symbolizes that. Now, I have many drawings here that I'm working on. This book is going to have 600 pages, and almost half of them will be illustrated. But let's just kind of tamper the number down, and let's just say 230 drawings, okay? 230 drawings. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of drawings. Here's a drawing, for example, where Swyllfly is multiplying himself, and he's got these big pods on him. It's really gross. But you know what? Evil is gross. So, you have Swyllfly, the evil guy. You have Vincent, the boy. And what I want is everybody to relate to this kid. I want people to look at this kid and say, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Now, what happens is I dabble in to the demon possession thing. But it's not like the scary movies where it's like, boo! Because that's just shock value. I really do a lot of character development on these characters. So you have to have a book that's long enough so you can really layer that character development. Because if you don't have that character development, nobody's going to care about your books. What I really don't want to have to happen is people to look through it and say, oh, those are great pictures. Because even though it's a picture book, I believe the writing is actually better than the drawings. Now, of course, when you first open it up, you're going to be taken back by the pictures because I believe the cover is illustrated beautifully. It's a beautiful cover that's in color. And in order to keep the cost down, the rest of the whole book had to be in black and white pencil. So it's a lot of drawing. So if I get a little bit into that, I'll show you some of the techniques that I'm doing. Now, when you use a pencil and you do line work, as you can see here, this line work, and maybe I'll turn down this brightness on the computer and maybe it'll show up better. Getting some kind of blue cast. There we go. Okay, so if you see the line work, there's little lines in there that are very, very distinct, very stroke-oriented. I have learned to have this reproduce in a very nice way. You got to have these lines not be super blended, but instead they've got to be confidently marked, and having a little bit of white space in between them. That allows the ink to reproduce it on the paper, and it won't bleed together. It won't be a mush. What you don't want to have is a mush. You want that drawing to have a style. So when you see that drawing, you're like, boom, that looks good. Let me find a good example for you here. If I can find one with some good line works. Now I have a lot of line work done, a lot of drawings done, and they're all hanging up in my bedroom. This is a good one. This shows some style. This is Dr. Kocher. And if you look at him, you get some really nice line work in his hair. I have white paint on me because I've been creating some awesome fireplace structures outside my house. But if you look at some of those details, you can see that line work. That's the style and pizzazz that I want to bring to the book. So that when you're looking through it, you can actually really enjoy even just the line work and the pencil work. It's not about being perfect. It's not about creating an animated Pixar movie here. It's about giving a style, pizzazz, a mood, a feeling. Storytelling's all about how characters relate to each other. That is the story. Even Walt Disney said that himself. Don't worry about the plot. Worry about the characters relating to each other and see what happens when they get in a certain situation. It's interesting because in the book I have a certain situation where Vincent I'm sorry, Cornelius is fighting with Swyllfly, and they're fighting like hand-to-hand combat. And it's interesting to see what takes place in that. And I find that adventurous. I recently went out west, and we went to all kinds of places. We went to New Mexico and Colorado and Utah and Wyoming and Montana. And what's so crazy is a lot of this story in the beginning takes place in Montana, but really the whole book takes place out in those parts, in Escalante, in Utah, in these dry places. And why is that? That's very strategic. I'll tell you why. When you think of life and you think of a plant, that plant can't live without water. And we as people cannot live without God's water, His life, His words. And in the beginning of the book, there's a battle taking place within Cornelius. And he is saying to himself, where is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? Why did this bad thing happen? And then this bad thing happened. And then this bad thing happened. And he's faced with a choice. And a voice comes to him in the form of a small, beautiful, calm, quiet butterfly and gives him the answer. Do this, Cornelius. Cornelius, believe this. But because he was bombarded with the evil overshadowed that, and he couldn't hear that voice. He heard the voice, but he turned away from it because his eyes started focusing on his pain. And when we start focusing on our pain, it creates a negative energy. Now, I've done it myself. Heck, I've even done it today. We all go through pain, and we all react because we're all human beings, and that's what makes us beautiful. You know, when God gave His Son to die for us, He did so to redeem us, to save us, to give us hope, to show us a way that we can't do it on our own. No matter how good we are, it's not good enough. It's not good enough to come into God's presence. So therefore, He made a way. And Cornelius had that choice. He had the choice of the way. Forgive me, my phone. Let me turn that off real quick. Sorry about that. First vlog. But I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that on my vlog because it's a learning experience. But anyway, that is actually a person calling me about the book. Huh, that's awesome. But I'll have to call him back. So, with that said, Cornelius had a choice. And his choice was, what does he believe? And he made the wrong choice. And I don't want to give the plot away, but let's just say the evil entered the family line. Family line at the beginning. And that is the importance of Cornelius' character. Once he let that evil in, that evil had permission to torment that family for generation after generation, all the way down to Cornelius. Now, that leaves us to this question. What happens? What happens to Vincent? Vincent is now generations later removed from Cornelius, and the evil is still there. The evil doesn't go away. The evil is going to bombard you. It's going to bombard me. So when I did this book, and I'm still making it, and I figure it might be done maybe within maybe a year. That's aggressive, though. That's aggressive. And that will put us at about 9.5 years. If you'd like to see the first publication of the first book, it is on Amazon. But I wouldn't suggest you buy it unless you want to just buy it as think of it as an essence. Think of it as a small little part of the story. Our original plan was to make 5 iterations of the book, 5 sections in a graphic novel style. But due to the fact that this is not yet famous, it could become famous. I see this as a Harry Potter style epic, or a Lord of the Rings kind of epic kind of story. But that's on Amazon. And, the thing about the whole story is, if you give yourself time to think, and when I say time, I'm not talking about 2 days. I'm not talking about 3 months or even a year. I'm talking about years. When you give yourself time to think about an idea and then rework the idea and then build upon the idea and allow God to speak to your heart through scriptures or different ideas or things that happen in your life, you can keep adding those things in there, and it just makes it rich. And people say, well, how do you write? And I'm like, when I first started writing, I kind of struggled because I felt like this pressure, like, oh, I've got to be like Stephen King. People would read my stuff and they'd say, you got to be like Stephen King. And I eventually realized I just have to be like Oliver Brodsky, because I am Oliver Brodsky, and that's who God made me to be. And I feel like the Lord told me I'm the only person in the world that can make this book because of my unique experiences, coupled with my passion, coupled with my creativity, my ability to draw, and my ability to write, my ability to communicate, my ability to storytell. It's a gift that I am extremely thankful for, but it is also a burden at times because you think about 230 pencil drawings, 250 maybe, and then you think about 100 chapters. It's hard to juggle that amount of mass of storytelling even within an InDesign document, which is what I'm designing it in. So you have to have the knowledge of Photoshop, you have to have the knowledge of InDesign, and probably maybe a little Illustrator, although I haven't really used that much. What I do is I do my drawings, and then I scan them in, and then I color correct them in Photoshop, and then bring them into InDesign and lay them out. So it's very interesting. This is the first vlog, so I'm really kind of doing it off the cuff here. And what I'd like to do going forward is every vlog just kind of touch on a subject in the book, touch on a certain focus of the book, not going through the whole book, but maybe the next episode will focus on a little thing here, and then the next episode maybe a little thing here. And I'd like to just give insights as to why I'm doing it and what my thought process is. This vlog isn't for everybody. You may find it boring, but you may find it interesting. I find that people that are deep thinkers and are bored with the status quo, bored with the Facebook stuff and the Twitter stuff, something like this may really interest them. Somebody that has a spiritual slant, somebody that likes art, somebody that likes process or creative thinking, creative strategy, creative solving problems. That's what this book is. This book is epic. The Lord told me this book is my calling. And when you think of a calling, you think that, well, that's a lifetime. I'm like, am I going to die young? I don't want to die young. I don't think he's saying I'm going to die young. I think he's saying that perhaps once this is done, this could expand into something even more, something even bigger. I don't know what. I actually have in my heart that this would be either an animated film or a real film. I would rather it be a real film. I feel like that would be more realistic. Now, we have done quite a few filming sessions. We've went out west using different sceneries, different backdrops. Goblin Park was one of them, and some of the Bryce Canyon images are going to be in the book. Massive research has went into this. So I do envision that eventually this could go into a movie. I could see myself maybe teaming up with a Mel Gibson or a Kirk Cameron, somebody that believes in God and has a testimony out there and would maybe want to make this happen. But my specific focus right now is the drawings and the book and the writing. Now, many will say, well, this is a very dark subject. You are actually glorifying Satan by making this book. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but 1/3 of Jesus' ministry was devoted to demon possession. 1/3 of the miracles he did was devoted to freeing people from demon possession. That is a significant statistic. So you say to yourself, every 3 things that Jesus did to help somebody, one of them had to do with demons. Demonic activity is a real issue. And every time I start working on this book, it seems like something happens to where I get discouraged, or a friend leaves my life, or I'm attacked. It's okay. I understand these are just little things that the enemy throws in our path to discourage us. I won't be discouraged. And the reason I won't be discouraged is because we know that when we're really pressing in and doing that thing for God that He called us to do, you're going to be attacked. It just makes sense. So with that said, I'll show you one more drawing. This is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites because it's a beautiful young lady, and I like studying faces. And the reason I like studying faces is because, to me, it's a mystery as to what makes a person quote-unquote beautiful versus quote-unquote not beautiful. And I've studied that. And a lot of people say, well, it's symmetry. If the left side of the face and the right side of the face are symmetrical, then it's beautiful. So this was a real study in making someone beautiful versus not. That is Brenda the Medicine Lady. I'm not going to give away why there's a medicine lady in the book, but you'll find out soon enough. So, with that said, I just want to encourage you, if you're interested, to keep checking back. I'll keep doing these vlogs, and I'll number them. This will be number 1. And I've given you somewhat of an overview of the book. Now, the only other thing I'd like to say about the book is this. Generational curses. If you don't believe in them, that's okay. I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to present the side that, what if it's true? What if there is generational curses? And you somehow, down the family line in the past, somebody let that in. They opened that door. They said yes to something they shouldn't have said. And then the evil comes in, and the evil has a stronghold on you. A real stronghold. And it just tortures you. Maybe it's through thoughts. Maybe it's through addictions. Maybe it's through depression. The Bible says the way you fight depression is the spirit of praise. I have given you the spirit of praise to combat the spirit of heaviness, the heaviness of a heart. That's the spirit of depression. You praise God. If we don't praise God, even the rocks will cry out to God, because He is the creator. He is creativity. He is life. If there's one out there that says, well, this is too creative, or that person's too creative, or that's way beyond the pale, I challenge them to say, you need to get in touch with who God is. God is very creative. God is very colorful, very beautiful. And God is in the book. It's not just about darkness. It's really about God. And God does make an appearance, but I won't give it away. Just know that I've put a lot of thought into this. A lot of thought, a lot of prayer. And when I say a lot, I believe I was looking at the hours yesterday, and the hours are up to 9,000 hours into this project. And when you think about 9,000 hours, they say if you do anything for 3,000 hours, you're an expert. So I might be an expert at making a book. I might not be Stephen King. I might not be well known. But I am an expert at putting hours into something that I think is going to be beautiful. I think it's going to be inspiring. And I think when you hold that book in your hand, it's going to be significant. It's going to be 8.5 by 8.5 square. It's going to be a collectible. You're going to want that. You're going to want to give that to somebody. It's a gift. And you can just give that to somebody and they can have it. And I think little kids will love it. I think little kids might be a little scared of it. I would say, it's probably mostly geared between, probably 7 to 15. But I would say it actually could go on all the way up to adults. I think the age limit is going to be busted through. I think it's going to penetrate the hearts of many people. Now, my strategy is this is going to be a self-publication. I'm going to give these away as a ministry, and I'm going to actively market it to get it as a full-time published book. For that to happen, you got to have a lot of sales on Amazon, which I plan on having. I'm going to run ads on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll see how that goes. I'd like to end every episode with something that I think is very interesting to me, some kind of art. And I've got this little guy, and I got him from Epcot Center, and he's painted by a lady from Mexico that Disney recruited, and her brother carves them, and they're wooden. And he's like a little owl. And I saw that, and I believe he was $38 in Epcot. But I just think it's absolutely wonderful. All this little paint here and all the beautiful designs. I just think that's awesome, man. That's really awesome. So I got a collection up here. There you go. Go in your little place there. And he's got a bunch of friends. And when I go back to Disney next year, I'm going to buy some more. And it's going to be absolutely wonderful because I love those guys. I bought 2 in Epcot, and I bought 2 in Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico this year, and I bought 2 last year in Oklahoma in an awesome gift shop. And they're all made by the same people in Mexico. And the same style, and they put their name at the bottom. I love that artwork. But anyways, that kind of concludes the first vlog of Vincent Swyllfly, vlog number 1. I appreciate you taking time out to watch, and I will look forward to the next subject matter at hand that I want to explain on the next episode. Vincent Swyllfly, you have a good night.